to watch all of these movies. Number 1 for me is Home Alone. Number 2 is This Christmas. Number 3 for me is Four Christmases. If you want an honorable mention, I really like Jingle All the Way. I just like the whole concept of Turbo Man. I think that everybody has their Turbo Man or their Red Ryder BB gun. So that's probably my Mount Rushmore. That's probably my top 4. I want to learn what yours are. What are your favorite Christmas movies?
I need to revisit Jingle All the Way because it's been easily a decade since I've seen it, but I have a feeling that that would actually hit pretty good here in 2025. So honorable mention there for me as well. I think my top 3, 2 of them I think are pretty definite. The Jim Carrey Grinch movie is a favorite of my wife's, so we've rewatched that a few times over recent years. It's weird, it's so strange, and it's just a really good hang. So that's on my list, my top 3. My number 1 is very much nostalgic, and it's something that my mom would just always put on wrapping presents or whatever. I have a huge amount of love for It's a Wonderful Life. I know it's like 3 hours in black and white, but it really does hold up from just really pulling at the nostalgia strings. And then I'm sure I've seen Elf more than maybe anything other than It's a Wonderful Life, but I you know what? I'd rather have a Muppets Christmas Carol on my TV. That's my top 3 also. So I'm gonna say It's a Wonderful Life, Muppet Christmas Carol, and the Jim Carrey Grinch.
Right now, we're talking to Joshua Brisco here. I'm very, very curious to kind of get your thoughts on what happened on the 4th down play. It is 4th and 1 from the Chiefs' 31-yard line. It still bothers me. We're going to talk about this after we get done with our conversation, Rob and I, and just it still doesn't make any sense to me. I kind of pride myself in being able to see the other side of arguments. Maybe we just don't have the same sports opinion, that's life, but I see the point where you were coming from. I've still not heard one compelling argument on why the Chiefs should have gone for it on 4th down in that spot. And when you also couple that with the play call and the decision, you're a great short yardage team with Kareem Hunt, but he's not on the field. It doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, that to me is, I can make the case for going for it there, but you're going to have to take a little runway here. I can make the case for going. I think the case for going is that the team was more aggressive earlier in the game on some of those 4th and mediums, and more aggressive against the Cowboys and some of those 4th and mediums around midfield. That you are a team that prides yourself on finding and taking the margins in those 4th and short situations where other teams kind of cower away from that. You keep your offense on there and you become Dan Campbell, and you're just the Lions, and you live that way. I get it. The other argument that you mentioned, you're a great 4th and short team with Kareem Hunt here. So if you said that my argument is that we're getting under center, we're handing it to Kareem Hunt, and they just stop him short for less than a 1-yard gain in that situation, it would still be a surprising decision considering Andy Reid, and I'll say on the other side, what his history has indicated. But if they stop Kareem Hunt on a 4th and 1 under center run, I think you kind of tip your hat and you go, man, that was a risk, but I understand why they took it. It was a relatively smart risk, but, a risk that you lose. The other option you have is if you want the ball in Patrick Mahomes' hand, have Kareem Hunt in the backfield. Maybe it's the under center play action coming out in the rare times that it does. That's a great time to do it, because I really do think the Texans are going to respect the idea that Kareem Hunt's getting the ball from under center on 4th and 1, and so they take that half step forward, and then you're able to get Rashee Rice in a little bit of space behind those linebackers who stepped up to bite on Kareem Hunt. The fact that Kareem Hunt was on the field lined up at tight end, just off a line of scrimmage, tight left, totally takes that out of the picture. When Hollywood Brown is running that orbit motion, there's no fear that Kareem Hunt's getting a carry there. It's literally impossible. And Hollywood's obviously not getting a handoff in that situation, and maybe he was open. I understand that the Chiefs have these short yardage plays that don't necessarily just go down to handing the ball to Kareem Hunt, but that's the thing that worked. So I could have made that case with a Kareem Hunt in the backfield based plan, whether you're actually giving it to him or if he's a decoy in this situation and you let Mahomes pull it off. The specifics of the play call there are the thing that have stuck in my craw now into Tuesday. The other thing is just that Andy Reid talks all the time when he's more conservative than I'd like him to be sometimes on 4th down. He talks about the feel and the game situation, the gut feeling. He's coached a ton of football. And so I have to give him a little bit of credit to say, yeah, no, you didn't feel like going for it here for whatever reason. Okay, again, you've done this for an unbelievable time at an unbelievably high level. But I, the guy that wants to be more aggressive on fourth down, I was surprised when the offense stayed out there because everything about the feel of that game was that the Texans were barely inching forward. It was just 3 and out after 3 and out. It was 17 yards they had picked up in the half or whatever it was to that point. So you had gotten every feel in that game was that you needed, your defense was unbelievable, that you needed your field position. And also, it's not like it was going to get them into field goal range or immediately open up a first and goal situation. It's so far back in your own territory that you could have still been punting it 3 plays later. So all of that, or even, if it was at midfield, you say, well, we're not going to punt. We're going to kick the field goal after this. All of that adds up to me to where I really was surprised by the decision, but ultimately I think the part that was the bigger miss was the play call.
And to me, it kind of highlighted, I think, what the bigger conversation is about the Chiefs, which is their inability to adapt. And this is the argument that people have when it comes to the run game. As that game was playing itself out, it was turning into an absolute defensive battle, where, in my opinion, the Chiefs' best chance to win that game is to win 13-10. Keep relying on the defense, continue to play field position, and it's not the sexiest way to win, but let's just continue to grind it out with the defense. We'll get the ball, and I'll trust my quarterback to get us down the field and put us into field goal range. I think Andy panicked for the first time, and I would say Andy's best characteristic as a coach on Sunday is he doesn't get too high, doesn't get too low. He is just very even-keeled. It was one of the few times I can remember that I think Andy was skittish. I think Andy was nervous. I think Andy was playing to emotion of things. You know how they say when you're playing blackjack, hey, there's like gambling and there's playing blackjack correctly. Yeah. In that moment, he hit on 18, which just doesn't make any sense. Sure, you can get a 3, but you're just playing it the wrong way.
Yeah, I think that they also kind of ended up speeding up that whole process, and I understand you want to catch the Texans off guard, but that feels like another opportunity for me. If you want to go ahead and burn a timeout there, if you really want to go for it and you make sure you've got the call that you want, I'm not sure they had the right call in several circumstances throughout that game. I do think that would have been an instance to say, hey, if you're going to burn a timeout here and make sure you've got it dialed up, that everybody's on the same page, now the Texans are just assuming that you're going to go out there and give it to Kareem Hunt. Again, you still have a chance to play off of that. And then on top of it, in terms of it being kind of a microcosm of that game, so many times it felt like a play just either nobody got open or the offensive line, particularly the right side of the offensive line, ends up losing pretty quickly, and it just speeds the whole process up. The ball comes out, it's kind of awkward, it's off of somebody's hands. Is it a catch? Is it a drop? Is it an incomplete? Is it a PBU? That kind of just like middle of the field kind of muddied chaos there, I think has been kind of emblematic of what's happened just too many times in these situations where the Chiefs have been so good in recent years.
Right now, we're talking to Joshua Brisco from the Chiefs Radio Network going through their loss against the Houston Texans. You know that, Brisco, I watch a lot of Law and Order, and, they always have the ME, and they got to tell you what the cause of death is. If you had to ask me what the Chiefs' cause of death is, I would say third down defense. I think that has done this team in. They have had chances to win. You got to get off the field here. You got to get off the field. And whether it's a 3rd and 5, a 3rd and 15, a 3rd and 17, their inability to get off the field, I think, has been their most critical error. If you had to diagnose what you think the cause of death will be for the Kansas City Chiefs, what do you think it will be?
I think that's a really good one. It's kind of unfortunate that we're saying that after the Texans game where that was better, not perfect, but better. Even that other touchdown drive, that was the Noel Williams hold that got them off the field on 3rd down. And I say hold very generously because it wasn't one. And then the pass rush, rolls into that. So I think that might have been the direction I would even go more specific. But I actually think at this point, maybe it's the fact that the offensive succession plan didn't take hold the way that you expected it to, where you don't ever get. I heard Nate Taylor talking to Cody and Gold about this earlier. And the idea that Rashee Rice right now just hasn't beaten man coverage consistently for several weeks. And obviously he wasn't out there for the first 6 weeks. You end up asking for a ton from Travis Kelce yet again. And then he has some back-breaking drops of his own right. I think I want to put it on the offense first, I think, because it is the side of the ball that I had the higher expectations for. That in a world where this Chiefs team is winning the Super Bowl, the defense and the 3rd downs are a huge reason that they've lost several of these games. But ultimately, I think the cause of death on the the grander scale of why this team has fallen so significantly short of the heights that they expect on a year in and year out basis, I think the offense never had a smoothness to it because you never got that baton fully handed from Travis Kelce to Rashee Rice. You never got an easy button in the running game because however this running game has existed over the last few years, it just didn't work like that this year. Too many of these shotgun runs and all that stuff. So stuff we talked about plenty over the last several weeks. So I still think to the offensive side first, to the fact that there was supposed to be an evolution also with all the depth in this wide receiver room that they talked a lot about in the preseason, out in St. Joe during training camp. This wide receiver room doesn't feel, it is better. It doesn't feel better than how it felt around this time last year or some of the really beleaguered wide receiver groups that Patrick Mahomes has had in recent years. There is more talent here, but it's not been significantly more productive. And I'm still kind of bullish on Rashee Rice. I do still think that there's a ceiling for Xavier Worthy, but it feels like half of his workload is borderline hopeless deep shots, and some of his intermediate stuff, you see the sparks there. So again, whatever this evolution was this year that I think really largely hinged on Kelce to Rice in terms of the succession plan, it just feels like so little of that came to fruition.
Right now, we're talking to Joshua Brisco of the Chiefs Radio Network. I think another part of this, and I think this is something that was just easy to diagnose in the offseason, Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs, they are 0-4 this season when Patrick Mahomes is their leading rusher. When he is that involved in their run game, it usually means that things are breaking down, that everybody appreciates Mahomes' ability to take off on third down and move the sticks. Man, when that is a foundation of your offense and that basically is your run game, it means other things for your offense. I mean, in this game, the Chiefs gave the ball to Kareem Hunt and Isaiah Pacheco 21 times. They got 60 yards on those plays. Those two guys had 60 yards rushing. Patrick Mahomes had 59 yards on 7 attempts by himself. I think that is a major problem that has to be addressed this offseason is if you look at the NFL, you look at the way the teams are playing, you have to have an ability to run the ball and take pressure off of your quarterback. I saw a stat that Patrick Mahomes is attributing for 74% of the Chiefs' offense this year. I mean, we're talking about this is like 2018, 2019 Josh Allen numbers in which you're asking him to do everything. That cannot be the plan for next year offensively.
No, you're absolutely right. And again, look, the Mahomes scrambling thing is something that you love to have in the bag. It's something you love to be able to break glass in case of emergency. But I do think that's what it is. It is what happens in emergency situations when the support around him breaks down. A lot of times that scrambling happens because the offensive line has broken down before anyone's gotten open. That can be the offensive line's fault. That can be the pass catcher's fault. And obviously that can be schematic or whatever. And coaching, it can just be the defense making a play. But when you end up in those places, when you have several games already this year where it feels like Mahomes has gotten that feeling of like, I don't know that I can trust everything happening around me right now. I don't know that I can trust this O-line to hold up. I don't know that I can trust these receivers to get open. I don't know that I can trust the running game as it's currently constituted to just keep us on time as an offense, to keep us ahead of the sticks. Then you find him kind of backing himself into a corner, or being backed into a corner, I suppose, and feeling like he's got to do it himself. And very often he does have to do it himself, which again is not it's not an easy way to live. I'm not sure it's a sustainable way. There have been stretches where it's been sustainable, I guess, but it's certainly not plan A, B, or C. And the Chiefs this offense ended up on plan D relatively early this year, it feels like.
I know Travis Kelce has had a very productive season. I think that Travis Kelce is going to end up being an all-pro this year. He has not had a bad season. I firmly believe that when Travis Kelce is sitting there and he's deciding on what he wants to do, there's going to be two plays that pops up in his mind. It's going to be the bobbled ball against Philadelphia. It's going to be that back-to-back sequence there on Sunday. They threw it to him the first time. He dropped it. Patrick Mahomes went right to him, his security blanket. He drops the ball. It pops up in the air. It gets intercepted. And at that point, it was time for you to start getting ready for the post-game show. It was time for people to start heading to the exits. That was the end of the game. I'll be very curious to hear Travis tomorrow on New Heights and where he is and what he thinks and how he's feeling mentally, because that sequence, them going to the sideline and sitting by himself, and you could see him mouthing to himself. You could see him questioning his hands and doing that kind of stuff. It felt like the end for Travis Kelce as an NFL player on Sunday night.
Yeah, I'm really fascinated to your point to see, is that going to just be him going, yeah, it's just time. Maybe it's the time I wanted, maybe it's not, but it's just time. The other side of it that is, again, like kind of befuddling considering how this offense got to the point where it is right now. He's been their best receiver this year. He is still their leading receiver, even though obviously he got a head start on Rice in terms of games. He is still where Mahomes looks first. And to your point, I think he's had a better year this year than he had last year, but it's kind of like, on some level, it feels like how we talk about Juwan Taylor, where it's like, man, he's actually having a great year pre-injury, and aside from the injuries, he's having a great year aside from those penalties. If it just wasn't for those penalties, Juwan Taylor would be a top 10 right tackle. Right now, it feels like this season for Travis Kelce has been that he's actually been better than people give him credit for, but you've had a couple of drops and those deflected interceptions at just the worst possible moments that completely change the game. So I have gone back and forth over the last couple of weeks, and obviously I don't know. And right now, I don't know if Travis Kelce knows, but it felt like if they would have three-peated, he could have had that right off into the sunset, and nobody could have blamed him even 1%. It would have been a hell of a way to go out, and then they go out kind of sad in that Super Bowl, and okay, we're going to come back and try to build this thing back up again, and again, kind of be able to pass the baton to Rashee Rice. I wonder now if the feeling is, hey, I'm not going to get to decide to retire on top. We don't get to decide that for ourselves. It either happens or it doesn't, and he's got a hell of a life in front of him to lead from here. If he wants to come back, I'd love to have him back. I think the Chiefs would love to have him back. I don't know what the salary cap negotiation would need to be or whatever that would look like. And if he just says, hey, I've given this team and this sport every single thing I have much longer than most NFL players have the ability to do it. And I never did it at anything other than a really high level. Obviously, I think he could retire after they could lose out the rest of the way, and he could drop a pass that turns into a pick every game, and he would still retire as one of the greatest pass catchers and one of the greatest playoff achievers of all time. And that will always be the thing that will overshadow, rightfully, however it ends this season, however these last few games and this year has gone with those huge moments. But I do wonder if he thinks, man, the problem here has been a couple of drops and terrible moments. I can be a guy again in this team next year who really plays a part. These last 3 games, he's played more than 200 offensive snaps in the Texans, Cowboys, and Colts game. It was averaging about 90% of the offensive snaps in all of those games. Meanwhile, Noah Gray has maybe his worst game as a pro against the Texans, and you're looking around thinking, well, if Travis Kelce could do this for 60% of the offensive snaps, I think his life would look a little bit easier right now. So I really am still up in the air. I could see the argument for, hey, come back and take a less oppressive role in this offense, 60%, not 90% of the work for the most part. And I could also see him just saying, hey, I was aware of it down the stretch. We went to 3 straight Super Bowls. We tried to do one more special thing. It didn't work out, and I'm going to ride off into the sunset, marry the most famous woman in the world, and probably kick off a heck of an acting career, whatever it's going to be. Obviously, he is more than ready to do whatever he feels like he wants to do, more than deserving of whatever retirement he wants. But I really do wonder what it's going to feel like when the season goes final, when he takes those extra weeks to make his decisions. I wonder how much doubt there is either way for him right now.
I want to read to you really quickly the FanDuel odds for the AFC. The Patriots, Broncos, and Bills are all tied at 4-1 odds to win the AFC. Houston right now is at 7-1. Jacksonville is at 7-1. The Chargers are at 10-1. If I gave you a free $100 bonus bet and told you had to place a bet on one of these teams to win the AFC, who would you place it on? And I asked that question because, right now I would say there are 2 spots that are opened up. The AFC has had either Patrick Mahomes or Tom Brady in the AFC Championship game in every season since 2010. It was Steelers and Jets. It was Roethlisberger against Mark Sanchez. That was the last time that Tom Brady wasn't in the AFC Championship game or Mahomes. For the first time, it appears to be kind of open. Man, you can make a case to me for about 6 teams to come out of the AFC. The right team gets hot. The right team makes a run. They find themselves there. I give you the free $100 bonus bet. You have to place it on AFC Championship game winner. Who would you place it on?
I heard your segment opening the show too, and so maybe I've had my brain infected by your takes already. I will say the itch I would have would be that Jags number is kind of interesting. They're kind of frisky, but I don't believe in that. To what you were saying a couple hours ago, if this isn't it for Buffalo, man, you've got to fold the franchise. I don't know. Like, this really is the opportunity on a real down year for the Chiefs and the Ravens, and just a weird season operating all around you. You're not even the best team in your division in your own standings right now. But I think that my knee-jerk reaction to the Super Bowl ceiling for a bunch of these teams is to look at the quarterback and make that decision. I think a great defense. I don't know that I believe anymore that defense wins championships. I think defense can win divisions and defense can win a playoff game or two, but eventually you have to have the quarterback. I do think the Patriots are interesting, but if they're at the same number that the Bills are at, I'm going to go with Buffalo, and I'm going to say that this is the year that Josh Allen at least gets there, because, man, if they don't, if it goes straight, I mean, imagine being a Bills fan where it goes straight from this 3-year reign of terror from the Chiefs, just holding your head in the toilet, giving you swirlies, and then the next time you look up, the Chiefs are below 500 at the beginning of December, and the New England Patriots are back with their new quarterback. I mean, that would be cosmic in terms of what that would do to Bills fans, I think. So I do lean Buffalo. I think the Jags are probably my favorite value for a team that I don't entirely believe in, but I don't entirely believe in anybody in the AFC right now. The only team in football, Carrington, that I really believe in lost to the Panthers 2 weeks ago. So I mean, it is a bonkers slate.
Last thing here, Brisco. Right now on the Billboard chart, All I Want for Christmas Is You is the #1 song on the Billboard Hot 100. Last Christmas by Wham is the #2 song right now on the Billboard chart. How many times have you streamed either one of those songs?
This year, 0. Ever, maybe occasionally on like a playlist of Christmas music. Look, do you want my Christmas music takes now? Or do you want to save those till next week? Okay.
We'll save them.
You know I want to talk about them. You know I want to do it.
No, I do want to do it. I'm just saying we already got your movie takes. Why don't you save this? I mean, Brisco, they play the Titans and the Raiders. We'll have time.
We're gonna need
All right, we got time. We got time.
We have a currently we have a below 500 football team who's gonna play the Titans and Raiders. I might write you a dissertation on my 3 favorite Christmas albums.